believe we're all set, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. I believe we have a quorum. No one has asked to speak at our public forum. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion items, we have the superintendent's report.
Okay, we got two things tonight. Anthony's going to talk about activities, so if you want to come up here, Anthony, do you want me to run this, or you can run it if you want, whatever you want to do.
I did this last year, and I'll do this every year, given the numbers, and then talking about some really good things that have been going on. We've had a lot of coaches get honored over the last year, and one that I was going to share, Heath Stein, was baseball coach of the year in 3A, and then Dylan Sears was also assistant coach of the year for baseball, along with Cohorst as the IFCA coach of the year, assistant coach of the year, which was pretty cool. So a lot of good stuff. Ellie Stevens, second at state. I can't understate how awesome that is for Harlan. And then will be probably the front runner for the next 3 years. She got beat by a four-timer that's graduated, and she's going to stay, from what I was told, at 125, and she's probably going to be the favorite for the next 3 years. So we've got some really, really good stuff. Our girls team is playing good basketball right now. We got Atlantic on Wednesday. We're going to host that, and then probably, like I said, travel to Cherokee. Our boys got a favorable first-round matchup. Pretty excited about that. Qualified 4 wrestlers to the state tournament. So the sports side is doing really, really well. We're gearing up for that jazz. What do I want to say? This jazz season towards, again, hopefully bringing home. Would we get second last year to Pella? And then again, if we can just knock off Pella, that'd be great. That'd make me feel good. So I love sharing the good stuff, because it seems like every season we've got 1 or 2 really good things going on. Going into our fall sports, I just wanted to share some of what we're doing. For you, Jenny. These are our last year, and I wanted to go back a little bit further, but it was a little difficult to find information going back. But I will track this every single year so we can see trends, and then how do we kind of combat some of the things that are going on. We're down a little bit in football, up in volleyball, cross country. You can see that stuff. Middle school, as Greg knows, we had a pretty big 8th grade class.
It was a big 7th grade class.
It's a big 7th grade class, smaller 8th grade class, so that kind of inflates those numbers a little bit. Cross country kind of stays steady. Into our winter sports, I was really impressed with our winter sports as far as what we've grown over this year. It does have some bigger classes, but girls wrestling continues to grow. A lot of wrestlers out this year. Basketball team kind of stays steady with that. A lot of boys basketball. Spring and summer, soccer, man, we've got a lot of soccer players. Tennis seems to be growing. Girls down just a little bit. Baseball kind of stays steady. And I've shared all this with you guys. In our band and choir and at our booster club, we kind of talk about this too, that we are seeing a somewhat decline in kids going out, how we combat that a little bit with our band and choir. And we do have more in middle school band, but how do we keep them out? How do we make them be 4-year activity, being involved in 4 years worth of activities for band and choir? And then our club, something that's really important to me, it'll be 2 pages worth of this, is I am always going to be a proponent of starting things that kids want to do. You want to have an art club? We started an art club. Foreign language club, science club. Those are all things that kids love. We'll have gaming. That's not a club anymore. That's an actual sanctioned sport. We have a lot of. We just had equestrian. Who signed with Katie? That is so awesome. We got a lot of kids that are involved in a lot of things. If we get enough of them, let's create a club. Our FFA numbers are massive. Robotics, that's always something. STEM, as we step into a lot more STEM stuff, we're going to have more in robotics and things like that. So a couple things I wanted to share about what we are doing as far as our coaches. I think it's important for us to understand as we go into our coaches that coaches don't grow on trees anymore. As I saw, we opened up Coach Osborne's position and had 2 applicants. That's it. And this was with me reaching out to people and trying to pull them in. people want a teaching job, well, we know there are less teachers, there are less coaches. I think that we have to grow our own and get them here and grow them to be great teachers. You might see a good teacher and make them a great teacher, or see a good coach and make them a great coach. I think we have to continue. We've got a lot of young, great coaches. I think of guys like Fink and Ruschenberg and Sam Wilwarding that are always at everything, want to be helpful. How do we make them? And I think the associations are seeing that too. The Girls Association just came out with a mentoring program. The Boys Association came out with an AD mentoring, where you take first-year ADs and you match them up with somebody that's retired like Mitch Osborne, and you become a great AD. It's the same thing with the Girls Association. First-year volleyball coaches, softball coaches, and girls wrestling coaches will be matched up with a mentor. So I'm putting our brand-new softball coaches in that mentoring program. Amber Brown, our new volleyball coach, will be in that mentoring program. So you take these coaches, and instead of, first and second year and then they get burnt out, let's get them in a mentoring program. So the associations also understand that. And then for us, I think it's important because what you're going to start to see is less and less, and it's harder at the elementary teachers coaching at the high school level. And to credit to Mr. Mueller, as you go down to, we've got a lot more middle school coaches that are coaching sports. I think that's important. So, oh, we lost it.
Jade, don't say anything.
I was thinking it, but why we let her run that computer?
So this was this last year, so 27, almost half of our coaches come from the high school, and our middle school, and then community members made up a pretty big chunk. There were a lot more middle school coaches coaching our sports this year, along with high school. So I do think it's important for me and for Harlan community to continue to grow our young coaches, make them be great coaches, put them through mentoring programs and support them so that they stay in Harlan. They want to teach here, they want to grow families here, and then they want to continue to coach here. So in all of our activities. So, and I think that time is something for our club, sponsors and things like that. How do we continue to make them feel valued? Because time's important for people anymore. $6,600 used to be, it is a lot of money. It's still a lot of money, but that doesn't equate to the time I have to give up to do this. So we have to make them feel valued on why it's important. And then when they do these things and they see, we take our gaming club to state. And that's really cool. Well, you have to make the kids and the sponsor feel like it was a valued thing for Harlan. Make it as big of a deal as when we go to state for football. If you do that with all of our activities, then everybody feels like they're part of that great wheel that Harlan community's part of. So, any questions on our numbers? Or what's going on? Door's always open for you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Anthony.
All right.
Okay.
Hopefully our next presentation is as good as that one.
Now Brian is going to talk to us about
It won't be.
our audit findings.
It won't be as interesting.
Unless you like numbers.
Yeah, unless you like it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna present the audit tonight, and then we'll, next month, we'll have an action item to accept the audit, obviously. And I'm gonna keep this pretty high level here. Audit was a very clean audit, went real well. Harlan Community School District is very financially strong. The financial indicators that we need to meet, we're all in good standing on those. So I'll dive into it. Realistically, the only two parts that I'm gonna really even touch on here are the management discussion and analysis, which starts at page 9 and goes for probably 8 or 9 pages. And then I'll cover the findings, which are way towards the end of the audit. And if you want to follow on the report, I'll give you the pages. On page 9, towards the middle in the financial highlights, there was slight increase in the general fund revenues during 2024, mainly because a slight increase in state aid payments, general funds. Their expenditures did increase slightly too, and that was due to increase in salaries and benefits. The other thing on that page I'd like to point out is, it's the third bullet in the financial highlights. Our solvency ratio was 18.6 for fiscal year '23. It did drop to 16.7 fiscal year '24. This was anticipated. Our fund balances would be, the amount that we have limits the amount that we can cash reserve levy. Our cash reserve levy is limited somewhat because we were still finishing up using our stimulus funds, and when you still have those funds on balance, then it eliminates how much, it limits how much cash reserve levy you get. What we use our cash reserve levy for are things such as our deficits that are caused by special ed and the ELL. And we will, obviously, just kind of going into our budget planning we're doing right now, we will also be having a cash reserve levy when we request our FY '26 budget. Page 11, the districts, you can find it on there if you look hard enough, but basically what it's saying, the district's net position for the year increased $2 million, and the largest part of that was because of capital fund projects.
What's net position mean?
Net position is, if you want to equate it to like a business, it's your equity. It's your assets over your liabilities.
Okay.
What you own over what you owe. Okay, page 12 on there, the comment I have there, property taxes and unrestricted state grants account for 72% of our total revenues, and instruction and support services account for 84.7% of total expenses. Now, I'll put a little bit more explanation, meat on the bone there. Essentially what that's saying is property taxes and the state aid payments we have, though that's 72% of the total revenues we have. The other revenues we're getting from federal grants, Title I, things such as that, open enrollment, but property taxes and state aid payments are essentially what drive what we're able to do.
So if we're worth 12 million more than we were last year.
Not
Well,
12.
$2 million.
2 million. Okay, well, okay, page 11. Am I looking at page 11? Is that where you said that? Net
Yes,
position?
yep.
2 million. So 23 to 24, so I
You'd have
see
to go to-
24 is June 30th. I see
Actually, if you want to go down to
30,000.
the bottom figure, the 1.4,
14.
14.12.
12 million.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and so what do you attribute that to? Operating efficiency or
Well,
collecting more
okay,
taxes?
you have to,
That's a lot, isn't it?
yeah, you have to put this in the brevity of the fact that this is all the funds together.
Yeah.
So
That's how-
we
that's how
acquired
simple-minded
assets,
people work.
we acquired
That's how
assets,
brains work.
we acquired assets, but we didn't have as much debt. We didn't acquire as much debt as we did asset, essentially. And you're also, if you're putting all the funds together, if you're, without getting too far in the weeds, Jim, let's say in PEPL you had total revenues of $650,000, but you didn't spend it all, maybe you're saving it for a future project, that's gonna raise your fund balance. That's just one fund, okay? Well,
Weren't we saving some too back in Pepple from last year for
Yes.
some of the
Yes.
construction?
that's actually the reason I chose that, because we're actually saving that back to use for
Okay, I thought I remembered.
future project. And Jim, that's just one fund. This is all of them
Air
drawn
conditioning,
together.
if it's not covered.
Normally,
The
in
roof
most
and the air
companies,
conditioning.
it's your efficiency of your operations would reflect in your equity, but you're saying some of this is savings up for things that you know are coming for the future.
Sure.
So it gives us a little more cushion.
Yeah, and the other thing is you have to understand when you're talking like in the real world and in a assets
This
minus
isn't the-
liabilities.
I'm kidding.
When you get out in
It's
the
not.
business sector, you realistically have to make that money to get this. Where it's fund balance, you may be actually raising your fund balance because you're setting something aside.
Yeah. Does some years, does this go down and up
Sure.
very much?
Sure, you want it to stay fairly level, but it will go down,
Yeah, it would go down.
yeah.
You likely are attributed to the efficiency of the budget as well, Jim.
What's that?
You are very likely a good attribute for the efficiency of the budget. After 4 years, I can say that.
Oh, thank you. I think I know.
Let's not get into that.
It's a good thing.
Let's go with it right there and call it a compliment.
It is.
Okay, so that would have been on page
know.
11, and then page 12 is where it said, essentially, you have to understand, an awful lot of what we depend on is property taxes and state aid for the revenues, and
Did that go up this year, though?
that stays fairly static. The amount is a percentage of our total revenues, it's
Right.
pretty close.
What is the percent of property taxes we get?
Of the total revenues, Jade, without looking right off, I'd have
we
to
just
search in the
talked
report.
about
I
I
was
could
just
find it.
curious, because I
Yeah.
thought they went up, didn't they?
They did, that doesn't not necessarily mean they
It's
went
for
up as a
us.
percentage
Got it.
as of total, okay?
I would be curious to
go up and all
know
bills
what
go up.
percent of property taxes in general comes to us. Just curious about
As
that.
compared to total revenues,
Yes.
We're
Okay.
talking county taxes?
Well, probably, because Shelby County would pay for
So
all.
your property taxes as far as compared to county versus city versus school?
Just what percent, I guess, of county taxes go
Of-
to
yeah.
the school? I don't know that I know that.
of the total property taxes, you'll find that out fairly soon, because that'll all be published.
Perfect.
Because we really get money from the county, from the state, and from the sales tax. Well, sales
But she's
tax.
just, she's
Our
just talking
three
property
biggest-
taxes.
Yeah, our
Yeah, I
three,
know that portion of it,
Yeah.
but we have three main sources.
our three main sources are gonna be, property taxes,
Mhm.
state aid, and if you're talking about all funds together, you're
Yeah.
gonna have the SAVE, which is
Yeah,
the
state
statewide
sales.
penny, those are gonna be
That's
easily.
sales tax, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are gonna be the three biggest, easy.
but it's obviously not all the school. I'm just curious, because it seems like every time property taxes go up, somebody's mad because
Yeah.
the
No,
school
but that'd
wants
be a good
more
question
money.
to know how much comes from each place.
I'm curious.
Yeah. All right,
It's not an easy question.
Sorry.
no, you're fine.
We gotta drill.
I
That's
agree.
fine, I like it, I like it. Yeah,
Oh,
and then
really?
to reiterate, about 85% of our expenses that we have go to actually teaching the kids and the support of the staff beside that, okay?
85%.
It's about 15% discretionary for us.
Yeah. Page 13,
For the 15% would go to like paying buildings off and
Pay all the bills,
yep, that, stuff like
Discretionary,
that.
yeah.
paying what's that?
pay utility bills.
Bills.
Heat, light, water, power, debt?
All right, page 13, this shows, and this, really the only comment I have here is that it's the business type activities. The revenues from the nutrition fund decreased about 74,000, and the expenditures decreased 448. Well, first thing is that sets an alarm. It's not really. We are coming off of a period where the federal government was in 2023, where they were completely funding the nutrition programs.
Well, we even increased our
Yeah.
lunch prices last year, right?
So-
Was it by $1?
Close.
$1.07 or something? Under $1?
Yeah. But anyway, where I was going with that is it was gonna come back down because they were fully funding. So, and then on page 14, the budgetary highlight there, and the one you always want to have in your audit is, it's third to the last line in the budgetary highlights, the district did operate within budget. So that's always good to know. And then on,
Because that's your big thing, is it you sit back there and try and figure out what's it gonna,
well, Jim,
what's your numbers gonna be?
Jim, one of the things you got to remember with the budget is, the budget I'm doing for FY '26, I'm working on in January and February. You know when that comes to fruition? A year and a half after that. So you're making your, I don't want to say best guess, but your best estimate of what you're going to do. Now, what we find a lot of times is through timing, you may have a PEPAL, a large bus purchase, something like that happens, and it happens before or after when you anticipate. That's where you're going to have a budget amendment. I think we've had a slight budget amendment probably most years, and 99% of the time, it's because that's when the bus arrives. When you order a bus, you might not get a pick when it comes. Construction likewise is, you know about when they're going to tell you about when you're going to get payoffs for this amount. Doesn't necessarily follow that just right to a T. How we estimate when we do budgets is we do on the best information available at that time, and then obviously if we have to adjust that, we do it at,
You know, budgets are notoriously hard to do, but is a lot of that, take a lot of personal skill, or across the state, is it pretty easy to do?
Is it pretty easy to do? No. No.
Brian just makes it look easy. That's all.
You know, the longer you've done it, the more comfortable and the better you're going to get at it. But it's still not easy.
You know,
Well, this
Jim,
is-
in those meetings that we go to of the finance,
Yeah.
like they give you the breakdown of schools and where their solvency ratios are in
Yeah.
every district.
Yeah.
Like you can see a decent, well, I shouldn't throw anything in there. You can see
A
who is
range.
making it and who
Yeah.
is
Who is
not.
struggling.
And there's, I find it interesting that there are, the amount that there are that maybe aren't where it should be.
And that's, the solvency ratio is not so much determined by the budget, but the circumstances.
Okay, but now, when you talk solvency ratio, just understand one thing. Solvency ratio only is a general fund product, okay? When you're talking unspent authority and you're talking solvency ratio, you're not talking about any other fund but the general fund, okay? So theoretically, you could have a really, really lousy solvency ratio but have a whole lot of cash, because it might be in PEPAL and SAVE and everywhere else.
You know, and your job is really convoluted, I think. Would it be fair to say?
Yes,
It's
What do you think?
it's
intricate.
very convoluted.
Yeah.
And there's just, yeah,
But
specific.
it's
bucket.
what you do.
It's-
So
he's
you
very good at it.
understand.
Yeah.
Very
But
good
it's
at
about
it.
buckets.
You just
and-
have to understand,
So forgive us for
I don't consider this grilling.
good. Either.
I'm kind of enjoying it, actually.
Keep going then.
Yeah, and she does not like me to go over 5 minutes, so.
You're way over, so keep moving.
It is my fault,
Not
but
your
No,
fault.
you
no,
guys
these
do
are-
me, it's like,
they're-
oh my goodness.
They are great questions.
They are.
Catherine, you already given him the,
Talking about having cash in something that you may not be able to use.
Well,
for
you
something,
know,
but
real
that's why
quickly,
we're always talking about,
Yeah.
if we have a chance to get spending authority, we
Yeah.
want to get that. right?
one of the things you always have to remember, and this is probably for somebody outside of what I do, it's hard to understand. You can have a lot of authority and no cash. And you can have no authority and a lot of cash.
Yeah, a lot of cash.
Authority
You
is
can't
only
spend
your
it.
ability to spend. It's your credit card limit, how much you spend. You still have to have the cash to spend it. And that's part of the reason we can get the authority. Sped deficit is a perfect example. that money's gone. You have to spend it. We're mandated to spend that. We can get that authority back. But if we don't cash reserve levy, our solvency ratio and our fund balances are gonna tank. So that's the reason, when you have a sped deficit, you have to be able to get that levy back. Otherwise, at some point in time, you're not gonna have the cash to pay your regular bills.
So you're kind of saying that it's like your credit card, you have $10,000 in the middle of your credit card, you might only have $5,000 in your account to spend?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Might even be worse than that.
yeah.
The opposite can work too, Jim, like you could have $50,000 in your savings, but you only have 10,000 of spending authority, and you can only spend 10,000, even though you have all this extra over here.
Yep.
So that's the
I'm in trouble with
balancing.
grasping this.
I know, that's the,
thought.
Yep.
that's just the rule, the spending authority, yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna skip way to the back. And this will go really quick. You heard that? I think it will. On pages 65, that would show you that we are in compliance with all federal major programs, that they sample certain ones every year. We are in compliance with all those. 68 that shows we had, if you read through it, that essentially says that we had no internal control deficiencies or instances, and there were no instances of non-compliance. Those are happy words for me. We are actually really fortunate on the internal controls. We have enough staff that we don't get dinged on that. You go into a small district and they get dinged on that every year, because you can't just have another staff member just because you need that checks and balances. It just doesn't add up. So, but there were no compliance issues. And then you can look through these on your own, but pages 72, 73, and 74, that's where they go, and this is the typical things they're going to look for if there's some findings. Did you have some undisclosed related party things and such? The only thing we have on there is we had an audited adjustment on our enrollment, which that, with the way the DE's got that set up now, we're gonna have that one every year. Everybody has that one, actually. So that just says that we had an audited adjustment on our enrollment. They have to put it in here for it's certified.
Can I ask a couple overall questions?
Sure.
So this Exhibit A basically says this place is worth $70 million.
Okay.
And our liabilities
Can you
are
tell me
about
what
$50
page?
million.
Can you
Exhibit
tell
A,
me?
17, yeah. Is that just a simple man's, simple woman's way of understanding something? 70 million versus 50 million liabilities, is that possible?
The assets versus the
Round
assets
numbers.
total
No,
versus.
you're actually looking at,
It says statement of net position.
you wanna look at,
17.
you wanna look at the bottom.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the 14.
Yeah, you wanna look at the bottom.
Well, some of these are deferred, some of those are kind of.
Yeah, because if you want to look at the total, we have $70,000 worth of assets. We have deferred inflow.
70 million.
Excuse me, 70 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 70 million, and then we have deferred outflows of resources, which is stuff that's going to flow out at some point in time. It's all got to do with
It's
retirement,
all
by the way.
liabilities.
Yep.
basically.
And then you're going to have your liabilities
So it's
and your deferred
probably
inflows.
closer to 60 million, mass, 60, somewhere around there, 55 or 60, but basically 14 million difference between what they say the assets are. Of course, 30 million is buildings, I take it, mostly. Their
Yes.
capital assets,
Yes.
is that the idea?
Yes.
And then if you go over to the next page, I guess this is like the profit and loss statement, but basically there was a, what do these parentheses mean? Is that money going out? Is that the idea here, total government activity? I don't know, it's 16 million, is that what it costs to run the place, the 16,572, is that what you're saying? 16, right in the middle, page 18 on the right.
Total government.
Programs, net revenue and changes.
Okay.
Right here.
Right in the middle.
18 is that, I guess the question is that what it costs to run this place versus the revenue of 14 million, somewhere in there? 17 versus 14,
Well, you're going to have to understand,
these are round numbers I'm using.
again, this is all funds put together.
Mhm.
So I would say.
How much money
that-
goes out, how much money comes in?
Yeah, you have to look at every fund separately, and this is a required statement,
Uh-huh.
which quite honestly, I don't look at.
Okay. What do
I don't look at this one because.
This is my favorite one.
Is it really?
What was P&L? Yes.
This isn't a true P and L.
Is there
Yeah.
any kind of a P&L in here?
If you went probably far enough in there, you're gonna, probably the best thing you're gonna look at is probably 21. That has all except for the nutrition funds. That one's gonna be probably the most easiest to read. That one shows basically your revenues, your expenditures,
Okay.
and then
Thank
your
you.
other financing sources, and then it gives you the fund balance. Now, you're going to notice the fund balances, it has 13 million. This one does not include the nutrition fund.
But in there it says excess of revenues over expenditures is a negative 10 million. What does that number
We spent 10 million
Bond.
more than we brought in
Page 21
revenues.
on the right side.
That would signify the fact that we were purchasing, paying for the buildings. Because under general accepted accounting principles for fund balances, everything's an expense, okay? Whether you're buying a piece of equipment or buying a pen, it's an expense. So what that would tell you is yeah, we spent 10 million more, but that was acquiring assets.
So is this change in fund balance, does that mean something there, the 13 million? Or is there a bottom line?
At the bottom,
I guess
Brian,
maybe
on the
there's
far
not a
right.
bottom line. I guess-
Three up.
With you, I
from the
love,
bottom.
I love a good P and L, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah. It's convoluted,
It is.
okay.
I think you're looking for a true profit and loss, you're not gonna find it.
Yeah.
That's-
I assure you, we did not profit 13 million
Yeah.
this year.
On AEA flow-through, that's just what they pay us and then we pay their employees?
On AEA flow-through, now that's
We don't pay
gonna
their
change.
employees at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm gonna tell you right now is gonna change. So, in the past, prior to this year.
This is the first year.
This first
that-
year.
Yeah.
Up through FY '24, essentially it was a book entry, and I'll make the figures up, $600,000. It had to be shown as revenue on our books.
Yeah.
It had to be shown as expense on our books, exactly the same amount. It all flowed directly to them, but we have to show it, okay? Because it was our share of the pot that went to them.
Which is essentially why they wanted to break that up a little bit, because it was all flow-through money. And the services that we were getting with that money, we're provided a lot of services through the AEA, but it wasn't necessarily the same district to district or even AEA to AEA.
How do we track where it's going if we just have to show it came in and it went out?
That's the way every district did it in the state, so that's why they blew it up.
So
is
we
what I'm
don't
saying.
know where
So
it
now, no.
They were
That's why
spending
we
it at their discretion, but under state code, the money,
Who's they? AEA?
yep, under state code at that time, essentially, our share of the pot was $600,000. It's formula driven, Jade, okay? 600,000. We booked that we got
672.
Okay, 672. 672 went in, 672 went out.
Do we
okay?
know that for sure though?
We never
Absolutely.
saw it.
We never saw it.
It just, whoosh,
It flows directly to them.
it went straight to them. Now, the new law This year, 60% came to us and 40% went to them. So then we were able to choose what we wanted with our 40% that was sent to them, so that's a big change. Next year, 100% will come to us, and then we will buy whatever services we need on the instructional services side and the media side. So on all the general ed side and anything media. So we just sat down and went through, and they charge by the day now, and it's very expensive. So we will gain some money back on that, probably. There's about $200,000, I would say we, at most, would spend half of that, maybe even less than half of that. There are some very good things that we're gonna do, and then we'll see, because each year we can decide what we want and what we don't want. Special ed side is more money, and so this year, 100% went back to the AEA, and then we had services here. So speech and language pathologists, special ed consultants, anything, OT, PT, all of those things.
Well, you know my
they-
rub with some of that though. Like our
Right.
speech and language pathology, we had somebody certified in the building, but gave zero face-to-face instruction.
Right.
It was proctored through Zoom.
Right, so now that's gonna go 90-10, so they get 90, we have the 10 back to do. The only caveat on that 10% is it has to be spent on special ed services, which is fine, we can figure that out.
Yeah,
But
that's not a
the
problem.
90% goes back to the AEA, but they're also slimming down their services special ed wise, so we're gonna get less services. We'll get what we need for students with IEPs, but they're slimming their pieces down too. But then if we wanna buy something more, 10%, but that is closer to the tune of $450,000 to $500,000, so our 10% will be $50,000 that we'll do something with. So,
Oversimplified, it's 450,000, they get 10% of that, right?
No.
90% of that. We get the other 45,000, which we can spend on sped as we see fit.
whatever we
Then the
want.
other 200,000-ish, that will flow to us to purchase services and/or use at our discretion.
And
I
that-
understand
That
that
money
portion.
goes in the general fund, so it's more flexible too. Not the special ed, but the other, so like that 200,000.
Yeah.
If we spend 100,000 goes in the general fund, which is a lot more flexible for us to spend. It's not like in a PEPAL fund where you can only spend it on buildings or something.
So maybe just not a budget discussion, but for another time, I would guess the flow of the funding doesn't change the way the services are delivered. So if we have concern with the way they're just delivering services, that's another conversation we
Stop
need to
trying to limit
Yes.
my time and asking questions.
And we have definitely put in our 2 cents about that, Pete, but yes, for sure, yes.
Does that have a,
One question.
does that have an effect on
one
the special ed
general.
deficit?
Just make an agenda topic next time.
Does that change how the whole special ed deficit thing?
Not necessarily,
Jeopardy
because
bell's
you know,
going off.
special ed is,
I heard the Jeopardy
you have so
bell's
little
going off,
control.
like your time is about
You
up.
have a
Evidently.
family, a high-need family that you can't serve, you can real quickly have a bill of $10,000 a month from
Transport.
an out-of-state facility,
Yeah.
because you can't serve them.
Yeah.
So your sped deficit, you can do things to control it, but there's a certain amount of it that's out of your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been very proactive on our end, limiting our special ed deficit the last couple of years, and you give Jenny credit for that. Really, we went through and said, what can we do to reduce that? And we've done a lot of that. I mean,
We can't talk about this anymore because Pete's already annoyed. We have to move on. Sorry.
The problem
didn't
with
matter
keeping
either.
on a board like this. The problem
Now I'm in
with
trouble
keeping on a board
too.
is that some of this stuff is given at such a level of lawyers and CPAs that no reasonable, rational people can understand it. If there is any way you could give to us a little bit of a one-page thing, summary of cash flow with a little bit of a balance sheet, I mean, it could make sense to some of us Because this is so
Overly
convoluted and
simplified.
messed up, and you're moving things here and
P&L
there, and all
sheet.
these laws, and probably Al gets 3/4 of it.
We can definitely
You-
work on that
what-
and give it
what
to you
I- what
guys
I
on
would tell
Friday,
you
and
is,
your Friday,
The easiest thing to understand it, if you really want to totally understand it, is to sit down and, but you have to look at just the total fund balance, not what cash you have in the bank or anything. But if I pulled, well, and you'll see it when we present the certified budget. When present the certified budget, there's something called a budget crosswalk. And essentially what it is it's got, okay, these are the total revenues you took in the general fund, are all the funds. These are the expenditures you had in all those funds. And understand, when you're buying a building, it's considered an expenditure. And then it'll show, this is what your beginning fund balance was in this fund, and it'll show your ending fund balance. That's probably as understandable as you can make it.
That'd be nice.
And it
I'd
will
like it. I
get,
don't
that
know
will
if
get
anybody else-
presented as part of,
Put all the buckets into one bucket, give us, you know,
but
Net
what it
income,
does,
net
what it does is
expenditure.
it says, that this is what happened in general fund, this is what happened in the.
we'll work on that, Brian, we can maybe
You can
attach
throw
on
some,
Friday.
I mean,
We can see.
Heck,
to
could
to
send them
clarify a
out.
little, you could do
That's
like a
done.
credit and
Yeah.
held.
Okay.
I can just attach that Friday.
And I'm always promoting ISB stuff, but, you know, they do offer school finance boot camp things that really do get down to, it's specifically for.
Yeah, I agree with you, that report, while it's done for compliance with the federal and the state government and the bond ratings and everything, it's,
You can spend the rest of your life trying to understand this.
Clearly we can't because there's a time limit.
It's difficult to know, are we in a better position today than yesterday?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
yep.
And that's why we have Brian.
That's why we have Brian and why we have the auditors too.
But that's why we have the
They-
board,
yeah.
is to ask the questions and
Yeah.
understand this.
Absolutely.
Sure.
You know,
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Are you going
Do you
to,
want to go on to facilities or?
is everyone comfortable with moving on?
Yes, comfortable.
Facilities, real quick, I just was over at the high school today and they're getting the walls up, or, I mean, not drywall yet, but the metal, so that you can kind of see where the rooms are gonna go, it's pretty cool. Elementary, they're just down to the finishing now, so putting some carpet down, painting, and it's getting close. Yep. Okay. Student accolades. Mr. Mosier.
Welcome to the elementary again, too.
Thanks for inviting us. These
Yeah.
are rocking chairs.
You gotta be careful, they catch me every time, I feel like I'm falling over. So the month of January and February are busy around here. So one of the things this CKH is Capturing Kids' Hearts, and so every month we are having a different, like there might be respect, there might be caring, different caring attributes. So we have these winners, and all this stuff usually gets posted online too. Hopefully you guys see that and get that. So this is the primary champions, and this is the, intermediate and primary. So that's what that is. Ember Larson, so that's one of our students. So Mrs. Pirro, our art teacher, does a fabulous job of getting kids really into the art, and then she submits art projects to the state, and so that one got selected to be in one of the Iowa art shows. So that's really cool for Ember. The 100th day of school is it's
a
the
holiday.
next best thing is Christmas at school. So on the 100th day, then we have these snow days and stuff, and we're like counting, making sure, and the kids, they get little countdown strips and everything. So that's what you see here. It's all about, they count, especially, it's mostly at the primary, because everybody brings 100 of something. So if you have kids at that age level, they're bringing 100 marshmallows or 100 Fruit Loops, or, and then the teachers dress up to be 100 years old, and the kids already think I am, so I didn't have to dress up. So this right here is kindergarten royalty. So with our, particularly, this is very good practice in literacy. So think about, so when you teach literacy, you have to have a topic. So, like for me, I like to hunt. So my topic that I like to read about, keeps my interest, is hunting. But we're not teaching about kings and queens, but that's exciting to kindergarten students. So they read about real kings and queens, but they're actually teaching them about the words and blending and segmenting and rhyming and stuff like that. But they get excited about kings and queens so that they want to read the things that we have. So if you have elementary kids, you'll notice that they have, I'm trying to think of some of the other topics. They have all kinds of nonfiction topics. The Roman Empire is a big one. The kids love it.
Hospital came, remember when they all?
The hospital. So what those are is that's getting their attention, so they're excited about it, so they want to read the things. We don't want to bore them with something that is not interesting to them. So that's why we're not studying kings and queens, but that's the project that captures their attention. It's what we're talking about in reading. So that's what they're doing there. And then same thing with here, we have keyboarding royalty. And so we have the kings and queens of keyboarding. And we have Chandler, Natalia, and is that Keith? I think that's Keith. And so same thing there, keyboarding is an important skill. And unfortunately, kids come to us, and if I can make a shout out, they come up to the camera. They come to us with their little thumbs that can keyboard on the phones. And it actually gives them bad habits because it's not set up the same as a keyboard like this. And so keyboarding is one of those skills. We still teach handwriting, but keyboarding is one of those life skills. Once you have it at the elementary, or even kindergarten kids come and they already do it a certain way.
Talking to my.
I know, well, so we're trying to give them some motivation to, we spend 10 minutes a day. It's just a habitual thing. So we spend 10 minutes a day keyboarding, and then we keep track of their data and their errors and their mistakes. And then they have kings and queens royalty a couple times a month. So that's what that is. You see those often, and they get to wear the crown, and just incentive, if you will, to really take that skill seriously. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Mueller.
questions about the elementary or anything? All good?
Mr. Mueller?
Yeah, that first picture is Mrs. Arnson's 7th grade science class. They were doing a solar system unit, and so they were building different planets, and they had to make them to scale towards one another. And then in the hallways, they were using toilet paper to kind of measure out how many, like a foot was maybe 1,000 miles or what have you, so they could start seeing just how far away some of the planets were away from each other, or away from the sun, or away from the earth. So they did a bunch of studying on the solar system. That second picture there is through Capturing Kids' Hearts. We have things that's called Good Things, and we found out that 2 teachers and a student, one of their good things that they like to do is play cribbage. So this boy then asked the 2 teachers if he could have a reward of playing cribbage with them one day at lunch. So the other day they had a cribbage match, and they didn't finish, but so it's postponed till next week. So to finish that up. The picture on the far right there, in 8th grade language arts, they're reading the Diary of Anne Frank, and what those students have on there are VR headsets. And so in there, in the library of different things that you can tour is Anne Frank's house. And so they got those all put on, and we're navigating through Anne Frank's house. So which was good because it's going along with the story and something that they can't visualize maybe and stuff. So that was kind of a good thing with technology. Then in the bottom left is 6th grade math class. They're learning about ratios, and so they have some bunch of candies and all sorts of different things that they were able to eat after they touched them all. But they're talking about ratios and proportions, and so they brought in different things that they were able to sort out by colors and by types of M&Ms, and they had Skittles and all sorts of things there. So that was kind of exciting for them. And then the last picture was some pictures of our middle school wrestlers. So one of the things that they're doing in a video productions class, is starting to make some of the posts that you might see out on Twitter or Facebook with a green screen, and they're learning how to use Canva and how to produce different things to go out on our social media pages. So our students are making those posts and pictures and stuff. So that's good for them. They love, they eat that up, so.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Casey?
Well, we got a picture of Ellie Stevens, runner-up at state, and that's just awesome. I come from a wrestling family, and my sister was a first collegiate wrestler in Iowa, and so I just love seeing girls wrestling pick up and take off, and she's a good one to hold that placeholder, so. We got a picture of Lonnie Pitts and being inducted into the Booster Club Hall of Fame. Cheers to him, great selection for Lonnie. He does so much for the school, and we appreciate him. There's Mark Cohorse receiving the IFCA 3A Assistant Coach of the Year. So he's done so much for the district and is retiring this year, and so that was a great honor for him. There's Mike Woolhutter doing the roller coaster with kids at one of the games, and so they were all cheering, Mike, 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 and got him over. He goes, I don't know how to do it. I said, I had to use TikTok to remember how to do it when they asked me, but so I showed him quick, and so that was fun. And then there's a couple of our freshman boys, the class of 2028, did a great job raising money for the video board in honor of Mia, and I just snagged a quick picture of the kids out there leading the charge and did a great job presenting. I think this was, and then they did like Chuck a Duck and all that stuff during the game too, and found a way to have kids involved. So we're just so thankful for that, and pretty amazing what happened. So is there more, or is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Action items.
All right. Next up, we have the presentation of the Harlan Education Association's initial proposal for the 25-26 collective bargaining agreement.
So I'm Brian James, and basically just, I'll give you each copy. Talks about package increase of 3% and be $207 added on the base salary and allowing for horizontal vertical movement on our salary schedule.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Our finance committee discussed this and knew kind of this exact thing was coming. I mean, we had talked to you guys too, so I don't know if anybody else has any other questions.
Finance committee now?
Pete, Ray, and Roger. Yep. So the action item on this is just accepting their proposal, so we're not voting on keeping it or not keeping it, we're just accepting it, and then we would give ours, and then we can move forward after that if you want.
What's the difference between the word accept and receive? We used to talk a lot about that. We want to make, we're actually doing receiving their proposal. Accepting it kind of has a different meaning.
Yeah, that's good.
I think we
Recommend
receiving.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we receive, however you said that, great.
Collective bargaining agreement.
Initial proposal.
Initial proposal.
Proposal.
Yep. The initial.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next we have personnel reports.
Okay. We have had a couple of resignations. Kathleen Millett is a Spanish-French teacher. She is going to move to different, she's moving to the Des Moines area and has accepted a new position there. And then 2 coaches that are resigning. The only new hires we have are the summer tech interns that we talked about last month or maybe even the month before. And then we've got our classified and coaching openings and our certified vacancies for us to look at. We had some business interviews last week, and we have made an offer. I haven't heard if there's been a, nope, none. We just made an offer on Saturday, I believe. So taking some time to talk about that with the family members, and let's see. We did have an elementary music teacher candidate that we gave an offer to, but she declined. And then we just posted Spanish, and we are going to do interviews hopefully this Wednesday for the part-time math position. So we're making progress.
That part-time math, just as a reminder, is not a new position. It's just 2 teachers that came with a proposal that they each want to teach half and half. So, and the new hires this summer, we're kind of excited because those are all students. So they will.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Good. Hopefully next month we'll have a lot more information for you.
This is the time of year, isn't it?
This weekend.
Now it'll start, yeah.
Get a motion to approve the personnel report?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I know, I'm out of
What?
You're just-
it. I know.
Okay, next up, we have approval and acceptance of the asbestos bid.
Okay, you guys have gotten this information. I don't know if you have any additional questions, but basically, like Brian has said too, we are able to recoup some spending authority, but we have to go to the SBRC, which is the School Business
School Business Review Committee.
Review Committee. And
It's the same place you go when you do sped
sped
deficits.
deficit. So this actually came in under what we were budgeting, so that's a good thing. So we're going to go ahead and do the alternate of abating the elementary lunchroom gym and then putting new flooring in there. So the amount that it went down, we'll be able to pay for the flooring basically. So that's a win-win for us. And we're still looking for bids right now for the flooring. So we'll get it abated, which was not that much of a cost, it was the flooring. But
I don't mind saying through the years, I worked with Shive Hattery many, many times, and they're just top notch. And I'm impressed here that they got so many bids, and that it was so much lower than they originally thought. I was pretty impressed by
They've
the
been
bid tab.
good partners.
yeah, they have been.
I don't know the people there anymore, I did at one time.
The other thing is, once this is abated, then we should be 100% asbestos-free as a district, so that's a good thing too.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Positive. Any other questions?
And it was with Bedrock was the,
The winter. And they're local, I mean, fairly local, Denison?
yeah, they're Denison, and actually we did some due diligence and got good reports.
Good to know.
So how do we have to verbalize that?
Bedrock, what was the
Oh,
full
sorry.
name of the company?
I'm quick on the trigger here.
Bedrock Gravel? Bedrock Gravel Incorporated?
Yeah.
So can I
So
get a
we
motion?
make a motion to
for the-
accept
You go,
approve.
go ahead.
Bedrock, something in gravel. Do we have to say the amount for the removal of the asbestos?
Can you just say for base bid 1 and base bid 2?
As
And the
well as
alternate bid?
alternate.
Sure.
All three
All
bids?
again?
Yep.
All again, or just,
Do you-
okay.
You
I
got
make
it?
a motion to accept base bid 1, base bid 2, and the alternate by Bedrock Gravel.
There we go, the total.
What? And the total amount of 210, is that 25? Okay.
Get a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next up, we have approval of the Chromebook bid.
Okay, Jeremy wasn't able to be here, but he has done his due diligence and got 4 different bids on the Chromebook, and RTI is the winner, and we have been working with them before, so he was very happy with that. That bid has a good relationship with them and would like to continue to purchase from them. And I don't know if historically, like, we've had HPs and we're changing over to Chromebooks, and it's eventually going to save us quite a bit of money on we have moved all the technology purchasing to the PEPAL fund, so this is going to help build that up a little bit more. And they're just easier to maintain for kids. Teachers can keep their HPs, and the business department that needs them can keep their HPs, but the Chromebooks are just a little easier to manage for kids.
And this is within his budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that meeting once with the voice over internet protocol with Jeremy. He sure seemed on top of his game. But I'd be interested, this is a different world, if Pete has any ideas on all of this. Is this a way different world as far as as far as school districts and computers?
It's, I'm not sure what you're asking. The question I would have is, and I don't know what the school's strategy is related to AI and things like that, as those come in. My assumption is Chromebooks are going to be somewhat limiting with things that can be done there, and that might be a great thing, and it might not, I don't know.
We can definitely ask Jeremy that, but I know they're working on looking at that, and they're more just cloud-based and not, so,
Right.
yes.
So the new AI chipsets will come out probably next year, I would guess, in laptops and things like that, which we may not want.
Yeah, true.
Well, we
I
did
just don't
just
know.
pass an AI policy that we were
Yeah. Well, there
openly
might use
using it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. Like, just, we don't want to get behind the 8 ball either,
Right.
when it comes to,
Well, I always think about this in terms of, these kids, when they go into the workforce, guarantee the kids in school now will need to know how to use AI in their
Yep.
jobs, so.
Yep.
That'd be the one question I have here is,
how are we incorporating AI?
Does it limit
Yeah.
that ability to?
Yep. Sure.
It's a whole different world than most of us can understand.
and it changes every day now.
You can put this into AI and say summarize this
Yeah.
for Jim.
And it will.
Do that.
That's
Yes.
what we should do.
And it
I mean,
would, yeah.
we do it, we're using it a lot with our limited minds.
So do we need to make a motion to table this until that is answered, or?
I don't think we can, we've already, we're in
Can't
the
wait.
process. I don't know, I mean, you can do what you want, but I just would think
Yeah, and
we
I'm
need
not
to.
trying to overstep, which the
Yeah.
administration has thought is right. It's just.
I just think that would
So I
cost,
guess
or
whatever
that would
y'all
just,
think, but,
So it's, sorry, Jim. I think it's something that, right, we need to definitely look into in the future. If these are gonna limit
sure,
their capabilities.
right. We'll definitely ask that, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
would
they're good
hope that
questions on
Chromebook
it
would
anyway.
keep up with the AI integration too, but,
Well, the cloud-based stuff, they absolutely will. Other things may not
Yeah.
matter in the student environment. I just
yeah,
don't know.
no, okay, we'll ask though, yep. The other reason that he was trying to get this passed through too is because he's worried about the tariffs and he's worried about some other things and he doesn't want pricing to go up. So that's one of the reasons why he's doing it earlier.
I'd be willing to make a motion that we approve the $178,200 bid for the Chromebooks and
I'll second
RTI.
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Preschool contracted services agreement with West Central Community Action.
So West Central Community Action is Head Start, and we have a great relationship with them. Started Head Start Preschool last year, and would like to continue our partnership with them. It's not showing up. It's no cost to us, it actually helps us. We get $400.
They fund, for every student that's in that classroom, they fund $450 per month, which really covers a lot of the costs of running that classroom.
There's 16 max in the classroom.
Full day, right?
Full day. Has to be full day, but next year we're gonna have full day preschool anyway, so it'll be good.
And we also just get preschool funding on it too, so.
Yeah, it's been a good partnership.
Any other questions on that?
Just for my clarity, I know this is just nuance in wording. West Central is Head Start, or West Central
West
delivers the
Central-
Head Start
They're
program?
the administrators
They're-
of the Head Start program.
It starts underneath them, so they're, yeah. They have like 9 counties or more. I don't know. Bill's wife, Wendy, is the head of West Central Community Action, but then Head Start is one
Program they
piece under.
administer.
She's a lot smarter than Bill, too.
That was
I know, that's correct.
fairly safe assumption.
Just kidding, Bill's smart, too. Do we have to vote on that?
Can we get a motion to approve the contract with West Central Community Action?
So moved.
Get a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next up, we have policy review schedule, first reading.
Yep, this month, it's all about Family Medical Leave Act. And so, anytime anyone needs to go on the FMLA, they fill out, there's a lot of different exhibits and regulations. One is just communication about the policy. Exhibits they have to fill it out in order to apply for FMLA, and then it's just the policy. So the first reading is about the policy, and then we're going to move to rescind, and I'll just kind of cover that too while we're talking about this. But I'd like to move to rescind the policies 414, 414, 03, yeah, all of those, because we currently have a FMLA policy for just everyone, and then we just have separate policies for classified staff. So, and
It's the same
silly
thing.
Redundant.
to have all of those policies for different groups of people. So that's why
There were very few changes to the first reading.
Yes, very, very few changes. And so.
So my only plea for help here is maybe the right way to put this. This is just as convoluted as the finances and my ability to understand what's going on. If you could provide me some tutelage of where, get down to the core.
Yep.
I can see what changes we want to make, but what's driving the change, and why do, is it a
Change to take away the policies to rescind?
No. Any change in any policy, is it legislation? Is it, something that we want to change? Is it a suggestion from Iowa School Board
There's been more of
Association?
an overview, not
Yeah.
just this policy.
Any general policy change, I'd like to get to that level where I can see, here's the reason the change is being
Yep.
required or suggested, and I'm sure it's easily available, and I just can't find it, but.
Yep, so we've talked about the IASB primer. Some people call it primer. I don't know how it's said, but I will forward you those when I get them.
I think I get them every
Yeah.
quarter.
And they say why like these are the policies that you should review and make changes to, and this is the reason. A lot of times it's for more transparency, or there's been a law that's been changed,
Legislative, yeah.
and they do background work for us, so that we don't have to go through all our policies and say,
Yep.
well, there's a change in the rule about attendance. This is how your policy should reflect that. And this month, I didn't get any, and so I just looked at the policies that had been reviewed, because we have to review policies every 5 years. And
Sure.
so I just kind of keep it on a rotating schedule. And the reason I did FMLA this year is because they're the last ones that we reviewed. And honestly, we have reviewed all of our policies in the past 3 years. So we're on good track to only have 5 policies to review per meeting. So, but I will
I may
forward,
need some help getting into the primers.
yeah,
'Cause there's a separate login there that I
yep.
didn't do
There might be
anything.
an
Or I can
ISB
even-
login. We
Yeah,
can-
or I can
yeah.
even copy it
We can just make a
into
PDF of it.
Google Doc and.
Yeah.
I have ISB login, but then there's another login when you click through the primer.
Sure.
That's
Oh, yeah,
separate
we'll get it.
something.
Yep.
Is it the one that we sent you, or do they send it to you separately, do you know?
The primer email, they send it to me direct,
Awesome, okay.
but then there's a separate login, it looks like, that's not the same.
Okay, get that all.
So, thank you.
Buckle up, because I do have a question. Just, we don't have to get like down to the nitty gritty of it tonight, but just because I feel like I've been asked like 4 or 5 times, can we have better clarity and understanding for board and employees, FMLA and pregnancy? So the question that I've been asked several times is, I'm not on contract when I'm delivering my child, but I was told I have to start my FMLA right then so that when it comes to school contract time, I don't start my 12 weeks then, I start it when the baby's born.
Right.
I don't understand that if they're not on contract, so maybe we get some better clarity on that, because I feel like it's been a couple of times we've been asked to look into that.
Yeah, so I think I can explain it pretty easily. So say you're having a baby in June, and the doctor says you need 8 weeks to recover from having that baby. Well, when you're getting better or recovering, you don't start recovering in August when we're in school. Your body is recovering in June, and that's why the doctor is writing you off. Now, the law says you can have 12 weeks to bond with the baby, so you can take 12 weeks starting in August, but you're not sick then, so you can't use your sick leave during that time. Does that help?
So it's just not paid?
It's not paid.
They can
Yeah,
take
they
the
can
12
take the 12
weeks
weeks.
starting,
Yeah.
and it's just not paid?
Yeah, they
Yep.
can use their personal days or their cycle and time, or, just their applicable paid leave, but they just can't.
They can only use
Unless their
sick
doctor
leave.
says,
The doctor
you need
gives them
longer
12
because you
weeks,
had some
then-
complication.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
All right, that wasn't as bad as I thought, but I felt like I've been asked that multiple times.
Yeah. And I'm always happy to help explain that. I get that question too.
Yeah,
And once
well,
you-
it's all people that I'm
Yeah.
sure have come to you
Yeah.
asking
Mhm.
afterwards, but
If you only use it twice in your whole lifetime,
you just don't get to you don't get to use your sick up first.
it's
If you had it
Well, if you
earlier.
have the baby in
If you have the baby
the
in
beginning of
October,
August and school starts August 18th, yeah, because your recovery time hasn't,
Your doctor has you off for
Yep.
8 weeks.
Yep. and we have that too, so, yeah, good question. Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Turning into Brian. Oh, that was fun.
Help me
Back to great
understand.
question.
move to approve the first reading of these 5 policies.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. All right, and then we will vote for the approval to rescind Board Policy 414.03, as well as E1, E2, R1, and R2.
So if we're going to approve a policy, we need 2 readings. Do we need 2 readings to rescind
I think
policies?
so,
So this is first reading to rescind.
yes. Unless we say here, we can do first and second reading. And we have done that before.
There
So it's
is
up to you guys if you
no rush, though, correct?
No.
So,
I move to approve the first reading of the rescinding board policies 41403, 41403E1, 41403E2, 41403R1, 41403R2.
say that real
I
fast.
just want to say D2 after that.
Uh-huh.
Are you seconding? Is that?
Sure, I'm seconding.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what she
I didn't
said.
hear what you were saying.
She didn't make a Star Wars joke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And now we have the policy review schedule second reading.
No changes from last time.
Anyone have any questions on the second reading? Can I get a motion to approve the second reading?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And abstain.
Okay. And consent agenda is our next item up.
Any questions?
I don't,
You didn't have any questions on the financials that I saw?
Nothing.
I was writing, I'm sorry.
I did, I don't remember what I was questioning.
Looks like there's some big checks that Greg is signing for construction stuff.
Yeah.
Starting to get,
Thank you.
starting to get the bills.
Yeah. So,
It'll just soon come to an end.
Those will soon come to an
I
end.
said,
okay.
by the summer, though.
I get a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that leaves us with adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.